Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. I believe we have met the certification of open meeting law requirements. And now we need a roll call of committee members.
Sorgi here.
Lyon here.
Whalen here.
Severson here.
Jean, are you online?
I am.
All right, great. So now we need the adoption of the agenda.
Also move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that approves that. Approval of the 4/1/2025 regular meeting minutes.
I don't know if I can approve.
Yeah, go ahead.
I move to approve the minutes.
And I'll second it for it.
All in favor?
Hang on
Aye.
a second. I did see one correction
Aye.
that you probably should make, under members present, Sorgi is misspelled. Should be
Okay.
S-O-R-G-E.
So obviously, Sorgi did not read the minutes.
Okay.
Well, I did read them, and I didn't catch those at first read, so.
Okay, so can we get an approval with that change?
So,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Public call-in number is 715-538-1894. And we'll give people an opportunity to do that, but we can just move right on, correct? We have a presentation by UW-Madison students on the Uni-City Alliance Trempealeau County Spring 2025 semester project. Dave Carlson and Team Trempealeau.
Right, so, good morning. So happy to have this awesome presentation to present to you. We've been talking as PTED for a couple of years about doing a project or projects with the Uni-City Alliance, which is part of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I think you probably all know that the mission of the university, I'm going to paraphrase, is that the boundaries of the university are the boundaries of the state. So UW-Madison has a long history of trying to involve its students and its faculty with doing research and working on projects that will help the entire state. It's something that's really kind of, I think, unique among public education in this country and continues to set UW-Madison apart. We've got a couple of guests this morning. One is Megan McBride. She's hiding. We can't see her, but there she is. She's the coordinator of this program, right? What's your new title?
Managing Director. Hi, good morning, everyone.
Managing
Morning,
Director.
Megan.
So what Megan has done is she, along with her predecessor, really worked with us and said, what are some projects that you could use help on? Kind of helped us define scope for a couple of projects. This is the first one that got off the ground. And then she kind of stays in touch throughout the process, helps link us with a student group and, faculty person, and then just kind of monitors how things are going. So I was down at UW-Madison week before last for the final presentation of this group. And Tucker Desmond, who's up in the upper left there, was the leader of what I called Team Trempealeau, 4 enthusiastic UW-Madison students, 3 of which actually came up for a field trip in early April just to see what it was that they were working on. So I'm going to be quiet now, and I'm going to let Tucker present his group's presentation. And then I will note that I will make sure that all of you get a copy of not only the presentation, but their final report, which goes into some more detail.
Wonderful.
Tucker, take it away.
Hi, everyone. So as Dave said, we were helping out this semester with Trempealeau's project. They've kind of assigned us to do some research on the Trempealeau and look into some gaps that you guys are missing in your recreational offers, as well as supporting business offers. So with that in mind, we did some initial research and then we came up. Should I share the slides or do you guys have them?
If you could share them, that's fine. If we run into some problems, I've got it pulled up.
Yeah, sorry, I'll share them real quick. Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can. A little bit blurry.
There you go.
Perfect.
Better. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So as I was saying, they've assigned us to look at Trempealeau, look at the recreational offers, look at your guys' supporting business, basically just your business infrastructure and environment, and then advise on what businesses you guys should be looking to expand into, what current businesses you should bolster, expand, and just some overall trends in Trempealeau that we saw. So with that in mind, we designed a two-step methodology. We were going to conduct business interviews of businesses in Trempealeau. We created 3 areas of recreation: water-based, land-based, and agro-tourism. We just created these so we could hit all 3 areas of recreation when we were doing the interviews. And then we made an inventory of businesses in Trempealeau, cross-referenced that with Dave, and then chose 5 or 15 businesses, and we were expecting answers from about 5 to 10. So then we emailed them for a interview, and then I'll discuss those results in a little bit. And then the second part was case studies of relevant cities along the Mississippi, and then relevant interviews within those case studies. So the first city or county we chose was La Crosse, and we interviewed AJ Frells, which is the executive director of Explore La Crosse. And then Crawford County, which is actually a little bit smaller than Trempealeau, but has the city of Prairie du Chien. We did a case study on them, and then had an interview with Mark Lee, the executive director of Driftless Development. And then I had a great interview with Buzz Sorge with a lot of insight, and he, as you guys know, lives in Trempealeau and is a lake management planner. So
He's
into
also on
the
this.
case,
He's also on this committee, Tucker.
He's famous.
that's what I heard. He sounds famous. He's a great guy. We had a great talk. But moving into La Crosse County, one of my teammates did this case study, but I'll just go over some of the key takeaways. Strategic outdoor investment. I'm sure you guys know this theme more than I do. But La Crosse prioritized biking, paddling, hiking, and riverfront infrastructure as the key draws for tourism and resident quality of life. This was a takeaway that Buzz talked to me about in our interview, but it sounds like in Trempealeau, the resident quality of life is handled very well. But having that infrastructure that draws in tourists and kind of that continuity of infrastructure is really important, which I'll get into later. Partnerships are critical, and a lot of these successful projects in La Crosse and also in Crawford County are public-private partnerships. A lot of the land that the projects are taking part on are public land, or a lot of the businesses want to give tours on private land, or you have to get through private land to go fishing, or et cetera, et cetera. Another key takeaway was smart business growth, so expanding region or businesses that are small and need expanding. So if you have a bunch of bike rentals, you don't need to expand in that area. But if you don't have a lot of kayak rentals, it's probably best to expand in that area. And there's also a lot of businesses that we saw that were low investment but high return on investment, like tour guides, potentially a shuttle service, and rentals. And then some transferable strengths for Trempealeau were focused on your niche strengths, like your natural assets, develop low-cost digital assets, which we'll get into later, but trail maps will come up a lot within the theme of our presentation. And these trail maps can serve as a way for people to plan trips, but also as a way for people to know where they can and can't go for private and public property, but also to advertise for businesses. So you could put restaurants, shops on these trail maps, etc. Moving into our Crawford County case study, I had an interview with Mark Lee. He was very insightful. He's out of Driftless Development, which is a nonprofit economic development organization that helps with business development and economic development in Crawford County and the Driftless region in general. And some key takeaways from our talk was that permanent and temporary RV parking has been critical for increasing lodging availability, especially this availability of parking on the Mississippi River or on a river has been key, he said. And temporary RV parking, people that have RVs are usually heavily involved in recreation activity, taking advantage of unique recreation offerings. So Crawford County doesn't have all these, but Mark Lee made a point to say that these are offerings that you shouldn't shy away from. They might not bring a bunch of people, but they are niche offerings and they're something you can advertise to. It's things like RC racing, ice fishing, ice climbing, which is an interesting one, and rowing. Although these might not pull the majority of your tourist population, they are things you can offer and advertise to, and will just strengthen the holistic offering of Trempealeau's recreation. Advertising is a weak point for businesses in the county generally. If he said most businesses in Crawford County would use advertising if they were to be given a grant or use the money from a grant for advertising. And when we were doing our research, the trends we saw was the Driftless region in general has really strong advertising. Then you get down to the county level and it's pretty strong, a little weaker than the Driftless region. And then you get down to the business level and it's the weakest. And it honestly should probably be the other way around, where businesses have the strongest advertising, county has second, and then the region has so-so. But there was mismatches between across all case studies, county websites going from the links to the business websites, unmaintained business websites, and then from the regional perspective, they didn't have a ton of businesses listed. They just kind of had a general description on like places like Travel, Wisconsin, and Driftless in the Driftless region. But there is strong regional advertisement, and you guys should take advantage of that and transfer it down to the county and business level. This area came up a bunch in both case studies, and is the theme within our presentation is investment in sustainable water infrastructure. Crawford County has seen a lot of investment in water infrastructure over the past few years, past few decades actually, but the upkeep and maintenance on these infrastructure has not been there. So they saw a lot of boat launches disappear, and like river trails not be kept up. And these are things that once you invest in, or if you're going to invest in, it's worthwhile to make a plan as how you're going to keep them maintained and up and usable. Some other takeaways were the audio and visual advertising that takes place in Crawford County. So one of the first things that comes up when you search Crawford County or Prairie du Chien is a small YouTube documentary that has, I think, about 15,000 views, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for a county of 30,000 people, it's quite a bit. And it's just it's a nice thing to, right when it comes up, you can watch a video on the county, you kind of get a feel for what it has to offer. You can start planning a trip. And then another takeaway was, I'm sure you guys know, festivals, concerts, farmers market, and competitions like ice fishing competitions, rowing competitions, etc. And other events are critical to the visiting population of these counties. This is good for negating the seasonality of tourism. So you could have some festivals in off seasons to draw some more tourists. I know one of your guys' biggest draws is the Ashley Arts Festival, but taking advantage of that, rolling the momentum throughout summer and before and after to bolster your tourist population is definitely an area of improvement. So moving on to our interviews, I didn't actually conduct these two, my other group members did, so I won't go into as much detail on these, but they did give a very thorough detail in the report, and they provided some recommendations at the end of the report as to what these businesses could do. But we asked each business 4 baseline interview questions, the best way to attract customers in their experience, where their visitors coming from, what would they use a business grant for, and some barriers to business expansion. The first interview was with Fat Cat Bait and Tackle. I'm just going to skip off to the recommendations of them. It's a bait shop in Trempealeau and it's right on the river. It's in the Mississippi. We actually visited it during our field trip. And they, one of our first recommendations was before we did any interviews was going to be fishing guides. But after an interview with them, there is actually a slew of fishing guides in Trempealeau. There's just no really good way to find them. And so a recommendation is a list of guide contacts that the bait shop can offer, and encourage the guides to drop off flyers or post flyers around the store, kind of some collaboration between the guides and the business. And then this was one of my teammates' recommendations that Dave really liked was post fishing reports. There's a bait shop in Madison that has 10,000 followers right now and gets about 2,000 weekly views. And they just post fishing conditions, catches of the week, hot baits, weather reports, just that type of thing. And this is a really good way to advertise not only for the business, but also just bring in tourists and advertise for the county more generally. And then moving on to Trempealeau Fishing Float. This is actually right across the river from the bait shop. And he shuttles you over on a boat over to his fishing float, and you can fish there for a few hours. Some advantages of this are you are sheltered from the weather. You have bathrooms, indoor grill or indoor space. You have a functioning grill. It's actually by the running water too, which is where all the boats are trying to get out to. And so this is a really unique business in Trempealeau. But there was some problems with this business. First one, there's no website. There's no real way to find them. And additionally, I believe Trempealeau has them on their website, or he has a website, and then it takes you to a fishing site in Alaska. So there's just one of the continuity of advertising there. So you
That's a problem.
kind of definitely going to want to improve on that. And then he doesn't charge enough. He only charges $20 a day per person. And other fishing floats that we looked at charged about $200 to $250 for 2 days, for two people for half a day. So I don't know how he's kept in business until now, but just maybe some business. This will come up later in the report, but some business mentoring or pricing mentoring. He's actually going to sell his fishing float. And so it's on for sale for $89,000, but we thought that was pretty interesting. Moving on to the next one, it was a campground, Lake Road Campground. We saw a huge opportunity in campgrounds and hotels and shuttles in general for rental expansion and transportation expansion. So bike rentals, kayak rentals, and then also transportation. Not like necessarily around Trempealeau, but for your recreation activities. So if you want to get taken out to a biking trail, or you want to get picked up from the end of your float down the river, this seems like an area where campgrounds in particular, but also just lodging in general could fill. So that was one of their expansion opportunities. They have high demand during peak seasons and but low demand during off seasons. Mm-hmm. And they are facing some infrastructure upgrades and property expansions. Some recommendations my group had for them was to add a small fleet of bike and kayak rentals, offer some bundle deals. This will come up later, but maybe partner with some other businesses to offer some deals. And just some other niche ones. The owner has expertise in hospitality, so use that to initiate partnerships, and then property expansion to offer more places during peak season. Moving on to Holton's Goods interview. This is just a supply store, a goods store. I don't really know what you would call it. But they had some expansion opportunity for them is to expand their inventory and to offer water recreation. They're not near a river, but my group thought this would be a good area for them to expand into. Also potentially to offer guides for maybe hunting, but also for bird watching and stuff. They say they're not near a major river, but there's plenty of natural landscape around them still, and there's rivers that are accessible. It's not like they're extremely far away. And then some recommendations my group had for them were water-based gear, as I said, and then some impulse buys in their shop, snacks or apparel, and then hunting guides. Moving on to Craft Barn. Some constraints they face are the lack of hotels, and the recommendations my group had for them were to improve their website, offering a calendar of local events, some travel tips, and then I think they have a fudge shop, so they should offer fudge online, is what one of my group members said. And then they are advocating for local hotel development because they think there's a lodging shortage, and that's one of the reasons they're not seeing as many customers come into their place. I'm sure I didn't do a great job with those interviews as my group members conducted them, but they definitely go into more detail in the report, and I'm sure they'd be happy to ask any follow-up questions. So as you can see, we had the case studies, and then we had the interviews, a lot of qualitative information. And instead of just kind of trying to arbitrarily pick recommendations out of this, we decided to make some themes and then have these themes guide our recommendations. So our first theme, and this theme jumped out to us from the get-go, was the development of river infrastructure and businesses. So right from the get-go, Trempealeau has a bunch of rivers and water-based recreation offerings. And this seems like one of the main draws of Trempealeau and the Driftless region in general. So some of our key recommendations are boat landings, increase the accessibility of the rivers by putting in more boat landings, but also with these boat landings must come signage and river access points. You don't want people going through private property to get to the riverage or to their fishing spot. Including safety information, water trail maps, and distances in historical context. This will come up later, but this water trail maps again. This trail map could really be important area of improvement for Trempealeau, and they definitely could leverage this trail map into advertising, but also into showing people where private property is and the other offerings, where they can ride, where they can't, etc. Partnerships to support shuttles and rentals, and this also jumped out to us from the get-go. But like I was saying, if campgrounds could expand into shuttling people, so if you take off from Petrick Park on a float down the river, you don't want to have to figure out how you're going to get your kayak back or whatever. Why doesn't the campground just offer a shuttle that takes you right back to your camping spot and also hauls all your kayaks or their kayaks, which they rented to you? Which was the next recommendation, offer more boat, kayak, and canoe rentals. And then expand the guide capacity and advertising. As we saw, initially we didn't think there were guides in Trempealeau, but after talking to Fat Cat Bait Shop, we realized there were guides. And so expanding the capacity, not necessarily of fishing guides, but of river tours, boat charters, bird watching, hiking guides, but also the advertising of these guides. These guides definitely should be visible, and putting them in visible places like the bait shop, or just like flyers near the dam where a bunch of people are fishing or online, definitely could help bolster their business. Our next theme was lodging. This definitely is an area of improvement in Trempealeau. We suggested expanding the current lodging options like Trempealeau Inn, and there was another inn on that street, I'm blanking on the name now, but also to expand other lodging options such as hotels, Airbnbs, and VRBOs. Hotels offer a unique opportunity to do a lot of, like a chain hotels in particular, do a lot of the legwork for advertising for the county. They're not just going to establish a hotel and then forget about advertising. They'll definitely do their fair share of advertising, and they have a whole advertising department that could provide their expertise, not necessarily to the county, but for their own selfish reasons, they'd want to advertise the hotel. And then VRBOs and Airbnbs are definitely, this came up in my interview with Buzz Sorge, this is definitely a unique offering that Trempealeau has. When people are coming to Trempealeau, they don't think they're going to Chicago. They know they're going to a rural area with lots of natural amenities and rivers. So maybe they want to experience that quietness, or they want to be on a couple acres in the middle of nowhere. So Airbnbs and VRBOs seem like a unique offering Trempealeau could move into, and something that not a lot of other counties are doing. I touched on this in the last slide, but transportation integration. with these lodging options. So having a shuttle service, our main thought was for river transportation and like bike transportation when you want to come back or you want to go somewhere, but also just around Trempealeau generally, maybe. And then experience packaging, I talked about this a little bit in the craft barn, but when I travel, I always look for the packages, not just necessarily for the discounts, but also to see what I can fit in a day, what pairs well together, what other people do often, how long it takes. It definitely adds to the holistic of planning, and it makes it a lot easier when you can see what things are paired together, what's close by, etc. And investor forums. This was to encourage the county to co-invest in lodging projects. I think Ava touched on this in the past presentation, but I believe the owner of Craft Barn had started a petition for a hotel in Trempealeau. Dave knows more about it than I would. Moving on to our next theme was the continuity of recreation offerings and the continuity of advertising. So like I was saying, if you bring your boat to Trempealeau, you want to have a boat launch to launch it off of. If you bring your kayak, you want to have a launch to launch it off it, but you also want to have a shuttle back. If you don't bring your kayak, you want to be able to rent it, get it to the launch it, bring it back. If you bring your bike out, you want to have a trail map. So we were just saying for the continuity of recreational offerings, just so there's gaps, so there aren't gaps when people are recreating. So making sure that there is sufficient infrastructure to support the activity they're doing is definitely something to think about. But also with this is the advertising of that infrastructure. So like we were saying, the trail maps could definitely be a unique way. This is something that Buzz Sorge emphasized too, but it definitely seems like a good way that you could include where public and private property is, restaurants are, repair shops are, how long things take. That was a big thing that was missing, is how long are some of these activities going to take. And this is critical for trip planning and timing. And then I already mentioned the river transportation. And then offer templates and training for small businesses to promote themselves more effectively. At almost all businesses across the board in Trempealeau could use advertising rejuvenation, if you would. And so offering them some resources and training could definitely be an area of improvement for the county. Our last theme was transitioning business owners. As Dave mentioned when we visited in Galesville, that main street, the businesses turn over like crazy. And as we saw on the last slide, the Trempealeau float is selling their float. So just having somewhere for business owners to maybe post if they're getting out of their business and they want to sell it, or maybe they want to partner with somebody, they want an investor to go 50-50 with them, or they want to partner with another business. Maybe they want to partner with private property so they can give guides, like whether it be fishing guides, hunting guides on private property, and then the property owner gets a small fee for this. But somewhere for this to all happen, so a portal or something, or new business owners to look for advice from other business owners, but somewhere for them to all connect. And in this portal, offer mentorship, outreach programs, some business plans, investor engagement strategies. And then this came up, this could be within the portal or something else on its own, but a small land inheritance program for Trempealeau. This came up with my interview with Buzz Sorge again. And he said that the small land inheritance, a lot of these older generation farmers don't have anybody to inherit their land, and they want to keep their traditions going. And there's also a lot of younger generation people that want to learn about it and do some sustenance farming, but they just don't have the right land to do it. So connecting these two people that want to pass down a little bit of their land and some people that want to buy some land to an inheritance could like increase the agricultural sustenance character of Trempealeau and keep that part of Trempealeau alive. And taking all those themes and turning them into some next steps. These are obviously not all the next steps. You guys have, I'm sure, an infinite list of things you have on your to-do list, but from our perspective, some next steps were to compile all the previous work into a cohesive document. So you guys have your target market consultation research, that is figuring out where your people are coming from. Combine that with the business survey that you guys are doing, the resident survey, the recreational plan that was very thorough, and then this report as well you could add in there. Just putting this all into a cohesive document, especially the market research, business survey, and resident survey. Contract someone to make an interactive map of the trails for you, and do this in a format where you can add other businesses, so it's not just a trail map, but you can add where restaurants are, repair shops are, etc., as I mentioned earlier. Assess and develop a strategy for bolstering river recreation. So reach out to current businesses to expand into transportation and rentals. Consider public projects such as a river walk or bike paths along the river, some more boat launches, and maybe some bridges over the rivers, such as at Petrie Park. Reach out to existing lodging businesses to expand, or to prospective lodging businesses to establish in Trempealeau. I mentioned that above, but Trempealeau Inn definitely could use a renovation and expansion, but also there could be some more offerings of chain hotels and Airbnbs and such, as I mentioned. And then the last one was the last theme I touched on, which was strengthening the website for existing and prospective business owners that connects them to resources. And then put in there, add an area for prospective land and business transfers, and then also to connect to private landowners. And yeah, that's all I had for you. I'd be happy to take any questions. I hope I did my group justice in presenting all their work.
Tucker, this is Dave. I'm gonna tell Jeremy you need extra credit on this project
Yeah, right.
for
Yes.
presenting
No, I'm all
and
right.
getting up early. Thank you.
Yeah, you did it. I think you did a
it's
great
all right.
job, and I think we're all looking forward to getting the full report. I think that will be interesting. So Dave will get that to us soon, I would assume. So thank you very much for doing that. We certainly appreciate it.
problem.
It was a great job. And then
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think next we've got Great River Road update from Jean.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm very proud to say that the Wisconsin Great River Road finally received a GEM grant. Tomorrow or this afternoon, we have an executive board meeting to have the president sign the report so it can get sent off to Madison so we can get going. And listening to all the things that Tucker is talking about is absolutely fabulous. And maybe down the line, if you guys haven't had a chance to definitely talk with the Wisconsin DNR, Lock and Dams, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Railroad, because a lot of that stuff, Tucker, comes into play and it's out of the businesses or village's hand. But you guys did an awesome job. Very happy, looking forward to a new website for us. That will be getting new information like for the dairy breakfast and fair. Portals will be going in there. Pictures will be going in there. So I will be contacting Dave to get that information. Tomorrow we'll have a Mississippi River Parkway Commission committee meeting. We're working on our 250 miles, and I'll be able to provide more information to you on that. And we are waiting to find out if Michelle, and I'm probably going to say her name wrong, Stranger, is running for the 78th annual Dairy Land Queen. So hopefully we'll get lucky with that. And that's all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jean.
Lori, could we go back for a few questions for Tucker? Do we have time?
Sure.
Well, the big question I have, Tucker, how have other communities used these reports that you guys put together? To me, I saw quite a bit of stuff in there that might be good for a comp plan update for the county. And I don't know if there's any appetite within county board to update that comp plan, but there's a lot of good stuff where we changed the format of that. I mean, we learned a lot from these guys in a little bit of time on economic and cultural opportunity across the county. And so what's the format of the final report going to look like, I guess, and how would you guys think about other counties or villages, towns use these reports. Is there some insights anybody could give us along those lines, so we just don't kind of get this thing dropped off on our laps and there it sits?
I think one thing that would be really
Yeah.
good to know, Buzz, is if we have that report, the final report in our hands, and then we can take a look at it, and then it would be awesome if you could join us again, once we have all the little details.
Well, I think Tucker's headed home here in about a week or two,
He's,
right?
he's graduating next
Oh,
week.
boy.
So this was a one-off, one-semester project. Now,
Okay.
that's not to say we couldn't do a future project that sort of picks up some of this work
Right.
and carries it on. That's not set right now, but it's a possibility.
Well, we
Tucker,
got
do you have any insight on that at all?
As to the layout of the final report, it's very similar to the presentation, just some more details on the themes. But as like for moving forward, I would say take a step back. Definitely, as I mentioned in the last slide, you guys have a ton of research going on right now, especially the business and resident interviews, as well as the target market outreach research. And so maybe taking a step back, compiling that, as Dave said, next semester you might have the opportunity to work with another student group, even just dumping all of this on them and saying, put this in a cohesive way for us. Because like, as you said, it's a lot of information right now. There's not a ton of direction and steps to take, but maybe some more specific steps to take from the next group could be my advice moving forward.
Awesome, and
But
thank
yeah,
you
I don't-
again for all your
I don't
hard
have much
work.
guidance.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah, no
very
problem.
much. That was great, and I agree, Buzz, we don't want to just drop this for sure, because it's great information. And I feel really comfortable that once we get that report, we can get to work on it and get some things done. So-
I just emailed it off to everybody.
Oh, wonderful.
And I think
Great.
that Dave's future replacement will, and this committee will keep bringing that report back and working through that and making sure that we, whatever the next steps are. Yeah.
Awesome. And then next is the Economic Development and Tourism Manager Report from Dave.
Thank you, and I just wanted to thank Megan and Tucker one last time. Tucker, you're certainly free to stay on the meeting, but you're done, and we appreciate you, everything. So, good luck in your future endeavors, man.
Yeah, thanks very
Thank you
much,
so
Tucker.
much.
Thank you.
Tucker.
You guys
Thank
did
you.
a great
I
job.
appreciate it, guys.
It was a really
No
great
problem.
report. I
Yes.
just want to let you know that because that's a lot of really good information in there.
Yes.
It was really well done.
Great.
Thank you guys so much. I'll let my group know.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, so this is my final report. And I will tell you that the GEM grant, our joint effort marketing grant project, is winding down. We had the final strategic planning meeting with our group of tourism stakeholders, which has been mainly chamber people, but a couple of businesses that have participated as well. Oak Park Inn and Draft Horse Inn has participated. So it's been nice to get that input. Pilch and Barnett is in the process of compiling the final list of materials, which will include, a couple of reports too. So talk about, putting them into our inventory of reports and then really digesting those and seeing, because interestingly enough, a lot of the stuff overlaps. So like the work that our student group did, the work Pilch and Barnett's doing, the work we've done on the 8-county recreation plan. Those were the business and resident surveys that Tucker was referring to. There's just so much information. I mean, if anything, the past year has been really doing some research, really developing themes, and then developing things that we can use as springboards for the future. So I'm really excited about that. There is a business roundtable today that I'm doing in conjunction with Seven Rivers Alliance. That's going to be over at Riverland Energy starting at 1:30 today. We did put out information through social media on that. There was a press release as well in the Trempealeau County Times, and I sent an email to about 150 businesses that I had contact information for, inviting them. So looking forward to that. It's not a specific agenda. It's just kind of open discussion on what are some themes and concerns that are out there. There's plenty, I'm sure, that we will hear about just from the national level down to the local level. And the takeaway from that is just, how can we maybe, as Seven Rivers Alliance, which is our regional economic development partner, and how can we as Trempealeau County put together some things that maybe help address some of those issues, whether it's in more information or just, even if it's lobbying, for different changes at the state level or national level. So that'll be interesting. The last thing I'll say about this University Alliance group is it really was fun to work with them. I know Becky asked me at the outset, well, how much time do you see putting into this? And I met with the group once every week or two for the duration of the semester. I did make a trip down to Madison at the beginning to pitch our project to the whole class, and then students in groups of 4 kind of picked a project that they wanted to work on. And then I went down for their final report. And I would say all in addition to those 2 days, I probably put over the course of the semester maybe 10 to 12 hours in. So I think it's very reasonable. You look at the presentation and, we can all see where this is not what we would expect from a consulting group, but they're students, and to be honest with you, they exceeded the expectation that I had. So I hope they all got A's on their presentation, is what I'll
And they're a
say.
little cheaper than a consulting group.
Yeah, so, so I would definitely recommend that we do this again on an appropriate project, and there's some that are out there that we're considering.
Sure.
Last thing is, I've just been working through a number of things, trying to sort of write notes for Becky and for whoever comes next, just updating the status of certain things, things as simple as how are we managing social media. I did have a good meeting yesterday with River Travel Media out of La Crosse. We've worked with the last 4 years on tourism marketing, and we decided we are going to go with them for another year with a beefed up budget, which will allow us to do some more things. So it's just about continuity. I think that's really important right now as we transition with my position sort of being revamped. And I think it will just, it's nice to have other ideas too. So we've got Pilch and Barnett that's helped us, with some strategic marketing direction. And we've got River Travel Media, who's been with us since before COVID, and they've been with us at a time that we've been among the state leaders in year-over-year visitor spending increases percentage-wise in the state. So I just feel like things are in a good place right now. Final thing I'll say is just May 23rd is my last day. I'm here Friday this week, and then next week I'm out Tuesday, Wednesday, same thing the following week. So the next few weeks I'll have some limited availability, but if there's anything that anybody has a question about before I leave, or want to make sure you get on the radar screen, for the transition stuff, feel free to reach out.
Super, thank you so much. All right, the park report.
Yep. So I'll have a guest later on, so I'll be brief with the report and the priorities. But basically, just probably thinking about closing sections of the park when we've have a request, or if we're doing some work. So I just wanted to mention that, because that'll be a different procedure than we've done in the past. Then just want to communicate the importance of mapping and signage when it comes to our park and development projects. So continue to kind of work with land records, and we've got some things coming down the pipe where I'm excited to kind of do some background work with that sort of stuff. I was at WPRA's Knowles Nelson Day at the Capitol, April 23rd. So that was good. I got to speak with Representative Doyle, and then a staffer from the Staff Holtz office. Ended up getting a letter of support from Staff Holtz office for the natural play area. So Knowles Nelson funding is kind of a hot topic issue right now in the Capitol. So this might be, the last go at it. So I'm definitely glad we applied for the grant. But the status of Knowles Nelson, which it's sad, it's been a program for 35 years. It's very much in question right now. So there was a vote last year. I think Evers had like a problem with the Joint Finance Committee, putting a hold on some of the projects, and there was like a 6-1 vote in which they went in favor with Evers, saying the Joint Finance Committee was putting too many projects on hold. So that's kind of why the Republicans now have a problem, is because they were, voted against. So we'll see how that all plays out, but certainly glad I applied for the grant this year, and we put a lot of work into it, wrote a good grant. So, fingers crossed that we score the highest.
Okay.
Then Town of Arcadia was our intergovernmental collaboration there. We got a resolution from them, basically just supporting the project and the grant submittal. And then our half pavilion, which we mentioned, still kind of working on that, along with a few other things like the water fountain, entrance signage, donation box. We had to kind of wait for things to dry up in order to get concrete pads kind of in. So we've been making a lot of movement and headway to some of the park project stuff we've mentioned in the past. We're going to have the Whitehall 6th grade camp out over at the park Wednesday through Friday. So we've got things kind of lined up. Things are ready to go on our end with equipment and getting the site tilled, having a volunteer come do that. I appreciate Mark Brave's tractor because he's gonna till the rodeo and the site all at one time. So he's a neighboring property owner that's just volunteering some help. So we really appreciate Mark's help there. There's a total of 72 trees, 36 being white pine, 36 balsam fir. So really excited about the project. The tree should be coming in late Wednesday night, and just trying to coordinate that for either Thursday or Friday. Majidak install got pushed back a little bit due to insurance reasons, so he's actually going to be at the park camping free of charge on May 13th.
Nice.
And then he is going to be there for the next day or two, kind of putting the Majidak in. We've had some communications with the highway department on what phase 2 kind of looks like. Right now, we just want to get the dock in and get things settled around it, but
Who's putting the cement in, and when's that going in?
it would be probably the highway department, but we've got to put a load of crushed gravel for the base and dig a little bit. So they might be helping with that. And I think by next meeting, I should be able to, give you guys a couple options. So we kind of know what the route and decision we want to go for how that dock.
comes in after? I thought that had to be installed before the dock.
Oh, no, not necessarily.
okay.
But we just want to get the dock in and let things kind of settle. And then we've got that loop going down to the road. The
yeah.
plan is to have a path that goes to the dock from the road. So it's just a simple drop off for people.
And that's the highway
Yeah.
group doing that?
I met with Eric, I think it was, yesterday. So just had things kind of get pushed back a couple times in regards to some insurance stuff, which he got cleared up. So that was kind of the main thing. The dock needs to be insured on his part in case being a river dock, it is a little unconventional, and want to make sure we have that in case there's any kind of issue down the road. But yeah, we got some dog waste dispensers. We got all that. So we'll kind of be getting some park projects done with the summer heating up here.
Great. So does that cover the park report and the priorities?
Priorities, no.
Okay.
Priorities, we kind of finalized some Knowles Nelson grant work and the related communications. getting through that Majidoc stuff and water trail development. Working with a couple groups there on how we can do a river cleanup, kind of reaching out to volunteers and whatnot. So the good thing about that is that it all already is kind of taken care of by volunteers. Kind of
Nice.
learn that and know kind of who to talk to in regards to the condition stuff.
Great.
Petrick Park, project planning, and then coordination of the Trempealeau County Music Series. Got all 12 of our dates pretty much set. Now it's just getting the marketed information out, probably by next week or sometime. And then development of the Petrick Park ordinance and inventory planning for auditing stuff, so.
All right. And then, is that all, Jack?
Yep.
Perfect. Then we'll go into the resolution in support of Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program.
Yeah, so this is the one, let's see here. This is the one that kind of came in result of my WPRA stuff, and the consideration of funding reallocation was something that was discussed on that day, so that was a little extra blurb I added in there. And then we kind of took what other counties used, because you need something like this to apply for the grant. So basically all this has to go back to the DNR, just so we're grant eligible. We can get on with it, I guess.
Could you give a little more detail there, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is, so you need to have like a funding support for the stewardship to apply. Basically, this is something that the DNR requires in order to apply for the Knowles Nelson grant. And I just kind of communicated with our grant contact, and we're good if we kind of send them something like this that Kevin will read, that kind of aligns with what what entails in the project and how we, fund it. So, and then the support part of it and reallocating funds, it's just kind of, we want to keep the Knowles Nelson where it is. There's been, like I said, it's been a hot topic issue, and there's some funds in that grant that, could get spread around into more needed areas. So that's kind of the main idea behind this. And then we have another authorizing resolution more in terms of the funding. But this is kind of pushing
Just for the first
pushing the
grant
state
we
to
were
keep
offered, I'm a little confused.
No, can I help?
it. Sure.
Yep. So just to clarify, there are two resolutions. This first one that Jack was talking about, think of it more as, this is just a broad statement that the county will ultimately decide whether to support or not, that says we support the Knowles Nelson Grant Program continuing, and that we want to see money allocated to that, even if you have to take it for somewhere else to support the program, right? So it's taking a position on Knowles Nelson, it's a good thing. We want to see it continue. The next resolution, which we'll go into some more detail on, is specific to the grant that Jack submitted an application for last week to support the
Okay.
natural play area project.
Yeah, I couldn't open the package on my computer.
And mine isn't
Yeah,
opening
mine
either. I'm
either.
looking for
There
it
was a
right now.
glitch. I talked to IT about it. It's there now. For
Okay.
some reason.
I
it
tried
got
it
lost.
this morning and it
Yeah.
said not found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got it fixed this morning, didn't
I
you?
got it. I didn't.
So that,
Well, yeah.
So that's where my questions come
so
from.
that,
told
that's
me
the
it was
difference,
on there,
that's the
so
difference
that's
between the
weird.
two resolutions.
Okay,
And I can bring it up on the screen here.
Good.
Yeah.
Two.
Mine
That would
still
be great.
says 404.
Yep, not a problem.
Yours
Let
still
me-
says 404?
Yes, it does. I've been trying to access it.
Mm-hmm.
I had that pop up one day too, and then I tried again and it worked, so.
And as of right now, it's not.
Sorry. They
Shoot.
told me everybody else
Let me
should
see
be
if
able
I
to get.
can,
404, not found is all I get.
Did you
All
change
right.
the documents and your email?
Yes.
Okay.
ask and you shall receive.
All right.
Beautiful.
Oops. Let me go back out to regular and just zoom in a little bit. Yeah. Now I got to scroll back over so it's centered. There we go. All right. Perfect.
So this just goes into DNR then, and just hope they get 72 of these.
Well, and it would open the door basically for the county to have an official position and to share this with legislators, the governor's office, all of those folks. It's not dissimilar to like the resolution we did a few months back, supporting DOT to do a certain thing on the Highway 35 project.
Is there anything from the counties association or towns association or their statewide organizations? That'd be really, I think, important, that hopefully those groups are chiming in here.
I don't know if they have a position or not. This was a thing, like Jack said, Wisconsin Parks and Rec
Every Saturday morning, I
Association.
watch Tommy Thompson say our county parks are the best thing we got going in the state. I would hope from the counties associations, maybe, hopefully.
Must be on the morning news show, that weekend Wisconsin news show.
Yeah.
I see it every week also.
Well, thanks for doing this, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both things are needed,
Absolutely.
with what's going on right
Yeah.
now.
Sorry
in
about
regards
the
to this
questions,
funding.
but couldn't see this stuff.
No, it's good questions. All right. So do we have action here, Jack?
Yeah, so this resolution should be read and voted on by PTED, and it would go to county board if we
You want to
approve
go
it
ahead and read
today.
it?
You want me to read it, Jack?
Well,
It doesn't
that's
matter.
fi-
who
That's
reads it.
fine. I didn't know we typically read them, so I can do that. Whereas the Wisconsin State Legislature created the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program in 1989 to preserve natural areas, protect water quality, and expand outdoor recreation opportunities. And whereas the program has been funded, the land acquisition and development projects benefiting local governments, nonprofit organizations, and communities across Wisconsin. And whereas counties across the state have expressed formal support for the continuation of the program and recognized its value in promoting conservation and economic development. And whereas recent findings highlight the importance of evaluating how stewardship funds are allocated to ensure they meet the evolving regional environmental needs. Be it resolved, the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors supports the reauthorization and continued funding of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program and encourages the state of Wisconsin to explore appropriate reallocation of funds to enhance equity, access, and impact across the state. Dave, do you mind scrolling down?
That's all you got, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
that should be it.
Okay,
to approve.
do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, so then do we need a roll call vote, I assume?
Lyon, yes.
Sorgi, yes.
Adams, yes.
Whalen, yes.
Severson, yes. All right.
I
And
just have a quick question for Jack. Did you print copies of these for them to sign?
No.
Or I'll go back and print copies so we can get signatures
Sure.
before the end.
Okay, Jack, do you want to do Jack or Dave?
Yeah,
wanna read the
Dave,
next
do you
one?
mind unsharing so I can just share
Sure.
the agenda? That way we're not. To blow that up, huh? You got one more. Ugh. I don't know what's going on there.
I can bring mine back up if you.
Maybe. Everything's blank. I'll try one more time, Dave, and if.
Want to just pull it up, Dave, if you can?
This failed to start. Yeah, if you don't mind, Dave.
Sure.
Just have a couple notes here too, saying that PTED will kind of look at both resolutions today, and then it would go to county board on the 19th. Help communicate both with you guys and county board when they get materials. And then, so here's the other resolution authorizing Trempealeau County to apply for the Knowles Nelson funding for the Peachick Park Natural Play Area. Whereas construction of the natural play area has been identified and included in the master plan for Joe Peachick Jr. Memorial County Park, as well as the 2022 to 2026 Trempealeau County Outdoor Recreation Plan. And whereas these plans were developed and approved after extensive public outreach and input, and whereas the creation of a new natural play area at Peachick Park would create recreational opportunities for park users, increasing day use and overnight camping. Whereas the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources has funds available through the Knowles Nelson Grant Program, which could be used to assist in this project on a matching basis. Now it be resolved that park staff is authorized to apply for the Knowles Nelson Grant, and the county administrator is authorized to execute grant documents and sign other documentation as required by the DNR, and the grant request to be approved. And that the county board chair shall be authorized to sign the attached DNR standard authorizing resolution. Then this would need to be voted on by PTED and then go to county board.
I move to approve.
Second.
Ready, any discussion? Let's go to the roll.
Lyon, yes.
Sorgy, yes.
Adams, yes.
Whalen, yes.
Severson, yes. All right, and then we have the Friends of Trumpealeau County Horse Group discussion.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep, so I guess I've got a pack, or if you guys weren't able to get the packet open, I'm gonna make sure you guys get the information in regards to that, because that's kind of what Connie Guza and I, who's online, are using. Oh gosh, are using for this discussion. Connie's online, and now Dave's sharing, so I don't know if we can get her up.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we sure can.
Maybe, are you all right with
Hey.
just talking?
You bet.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Connie.
So my name is Connie Guza, and I've been associated with the park on and off with the Trempealeau County Horse Club and the Trempealeau County 4-H Horse Project since 2004, along with many, many volunteers. So I just wanted to propose here recently, Jack and I have been talking, has it been about a year or a little bit short of a year?
Yeah.
Of putting 2 campsites in for horse folks. So that means you could pull in your trailer, tie your horse on a tie line with a tie post. Our family and many other horse families camp at Wildcat often, and it's just you can either do electrical hookup or non, and we're thinking about doing just the non-electrical, and 2 spots in that wooded area behind the arena. There's two nice areas that we could put in a highline tie and that tie post with screenings underneath it, and then do a small fire pit with a picnic table, so folks could come and camp there overnight. A lot of 4-H kids do use that more closer to fair time, that arena. So it'd be a nice place to go and tie your horses and, maybe have a picnic or use the trail. So our Trempealeau County Horse Club started in 2004 with the 140 by 300 arena going in at 2005. With our Eagle View Trail heading from the park all the way down to River Roads, where there is a canoe landing there. That's as far as we got. So it's a loop trail. So you head down there, it takes about 2.5 hours, and then to come back as well. Also, so that is something that we would like to continue. And putting in these two spots would be all donated and no cost to the park. So I have that all lined up with CP Construction, which is Tanner Wojny and Carter Halverson, donating screenings, which would be underneath the trailers and where the horses are tied. Dougie Sokup will be donating the trucking, which is about half the cost to that. He's done a lot for the park and for the horses area. He also dug that spot where all of the arena is, and it took him 4 days, and he donated everything. So that was really nice. We have the Highline tie. There's like a cable. We took down our barn, so we've got that cable we'll donate over top that you actually tie the horses to in the two areas. Riverland Energy is donating the Highline poles, which there will be 6 for there again for the Highline pole tie and the tie post, and they'll drop them off back there. So that cost would all be, like I said, paid for by donations. So it kind of has been that way since 2004. If we want to do something, we just get together and local people donate and go from there. I have a list of folks just to say how much activity we've had and donations we've had in the past. Just real quick, there's a big list, but I just wanted to go over it quick just to see how far we've, stretched. So Starwood Rafters donated all of the wood wood at cost for the arena. The town of Burnside donated some shale for the road. Fencing and brush clearing was a lot of Brenda and Frank Bouch. I'm not sure if you guys know them, but they're horse people, county people that really have done a lot. And the Trempealeau County Horse Project, I was the leader for 12 years. 2008 was our first year. And so I've been out of it for, I think, 3 or 4, maybe 5 years now. But I took those kids on their, they have to do 5 service hours every year for something horse related. So we'd go and we first of all built the fence all the way from the park through Ed Malashevsky's, and that was a lot of work and a lot of mosquitoes. But and then we went and cleared the trail for those 12 years. So let's see, who do we have then? Oh, Riverland Energy did the ditching for the electricity going to the announcement stand. The Independence Shop class built the stand, which was nice. Other donations for that was Rudy Sabota, myself and my husband, Guza, Steve and Roxy Jellin, Mark Brave, Linda Liga, Frank and Brenda Bouch there again. Trempealeau County donated those light poles that you see there. I think there's 4. Draft Horse Inn did gates on the trail. Jerry Puhala from Whitehall had done the gates in the arena. Trish and Leo Limbitz did some grass seed in the park. The Arcadia Community Chest donated 500 as well. Trempealeau County, or I should say Tri-County Rodeo Club has some donation in there as well. Trempealeau County Tourism did a donation, I believe, of $1,000. Petrick Station and Bob Petrick had done like fuel for the tractor that did all the excavation for Dougie. Ed Malashevsky did really endless things. He let us use the land for many years. He donated the sand for the arena, just a lot from Ed Malashevsky over time. Let's see. So just wanted to mention some of the donators and people who are interested. I myself live 5 minutes from the park. We do have a trail ride. We had a wedding last year, so we didn't have a trail ride out of there, but usually like every other year, we'll have a group of 20 or 30 horses collect there and then go over the hills, neighbors and stuff, end up at my place and do a lunch and then back to the park. So we just thought that maybe a nice tie area mimicking Wildcat Park would be nice, and it would be all completed by donation, and my husband and myself would put in the posts and construct it. Maybe with some help of Gino Rotring, digging some holes with an automatic digger would be nice as well. And then we'd also like to have a cork board there as well. Ricardo, the fella who does head up the rodeo, maybe we could split that cork board. I found one for like $300. It's enclosed and locked. I'd like to put just a list of donators on, like I would say my side, and then he has a side as well, having his events. And we're not going to have a lot of events, but I would just like to post, if there is something from, the arena or what's happening, or at least the donators in that area. So that's what we're proposing. Like I said, it would be free and just a nice thing to have at no cost to the park. I think that's really all I have for that. Just need the okay and go from there.
Awesome. I think one thing that I know for sure is that the horse community is not well served in camping. So that is extremely important. Your ability to get it donated is amazing, so great job on that. And then I'm sure that Jack can get you through all the planning process and approvals for adding new sites. That should not be an issue.
Yeah, and it's just a real niche opportunity for us compared
Absolutely,
to what other
100%.
people can offer. We need to look at how we can improve in our trails aspect and providing an opportunity for the horse group. Connie and I have been in communication for a while. Just seems like the perfect opportunity with what's been done in the past. So
The Waco office gets numerous calls on where can we camp with our horse. So this is a great project, great idea, nice little niche, perfect.
Yep. And hopes are because we've been looking for a Friends of opportunity forever. Hopes down the road is to become a nonprofit type organization, and then they can be opened up to the state horse council.
Absolutely.
Opening us up for grants. We can put that on some of our stuff, and we've also, I think this all resulted from that March meeting that we had with Ricardo, and the opportunity for a horse bridge was mentioned at that meeting too. So it's we can tackle some things together. And Connie's a great leader, and it seemed like they were kind of on the Trempealeau County Horse Group was kind of no more dissolving, so they're looking for, people that are interested in the county are looking for another opportunity. So things kind of lined up to do it now.
And Connie, I did background that rodeo support. We met with the board of directors of the rodeo club, met with Mark Brave and Steve Jellin over at Wheelers, and they did cut a check to those guys. The rodeo group cut the check to the mounted riding or mounted shooting sports group. So that was a $2,500 donation. So I did back on it. Took a little bit of digging because that was a long time ago. But it was a check for $2,500 that was used for the some of the boards and stuff when they invested it. So I just wanted to make sure we kept track of what was going on, and that's where
You bet. Yeah,
that's
we'll
where
get
it
that
was.
in
So
there.
yep, just so you know.
Well, Connie,
Okay, sounds good.
congratulations on all of your hard work. We appreciate it for sure. I guess we need a motion to go ahead with this.
I move to support the development of the horse facilities at the Petrick Park.
I will second.
All right, any discussion? All right, let's go for the vote.
Lyon, yes.
Sorgi, yes.
Adams, yes.
Whalen, yes.
Severson, yes. Perfect, thank you so much, Connie, we appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll get busy on that then.
All right, that a girl, wonderful.
Okay,
Thank you, Connie. Appreciate all the work.
you bet.
All right, and then Four Seasons Lions Club Park in Independence, use of the dump station at Petrick Park.
Yeah, correct. So we have the street supervisor, Eli Castleberry. I'm communicating with the City of Independence. We've had a long tradition of basically Independence and Four Seasons Lions Club Park just using our dump station since they don't have one. So I kind of coordinated making sure there was a sign put out. So there's now a sign at Lions Club Park stating they need to pay $10. So basically, I have a letter that was attached to the packets, and I just kind of need approval from you guys for City of Independence, which is, a volunteer ran park and, offers a little bit of camping for those people to be able to use our dump station. So now it's marked in signage and would be addressed in a letter that gets sent to the state.
This is something that's been done historically.
Last letter that was sent was by our previous county clerk, Paul Severson.
Jack, does that campsite load up to at Ashley for the Arts and contribute to,
I'd imagine so,
Yeah.
that they probably, load up during that time. It might be an okay idea to you think about that
well, just
with
that you
Eli
might need more
in general.
pumping during Ashley or something to make sure we don't end up with a,
I could communicate that with him, I think. But we want to keep the letter kind of standard, I'd
do they
say.
have a dump station at their treatment plant in Arcade and Independence?
That I'm not so aware of. I don't think so.
So they don't take septic waste?
Right. That's why they've been sending people to Petrick for
Okay.
so long.
Just ask what impact that has on our septic system.
Yep.
Do you know that?
No, this is just something that's been traditionally done in the past. In Four Seasons is, a volunteer ran park. We should be doing what we can to, provide our cities, towns and villages with opportunities with the limited resources that they have.
I totally understand that and agree with that, but I do think we need to have some information on what your septic tank will hold and what the impact will have on that.
Sure. So the septic tank at Petrick, I do like the point that Buzz made with Ashley. That's really, when we had things looked at, that's really the only time where we have major impact to it. So it holds 3,800. So, and now we have it kind of rotating at the pump system. So my thing would just be make sure that they're probably not using it when we've got all those Ashley campers there, and communicating that with the street
Well, it's just you
department.
may need a pump during the festival to.
Right, and we
I thought
already
had some
pumped pre
plugging
to that,
problems or something during Ashley.
so I wouldn't want to, do an additional one, because it does cost some money.
So how would the fee be taken care of? The campers would pay it to the City of Independence, then City of Independence would pay the fee to the county.
So the campers from Four Seasons Park, there's signage out there. They'd be addressed to pay at our yellow pay post at Petrick Park, but they'd be going from Four Seasons over to
Oh,
our
they
county
carry-
park to dump.
Sure, okay.
They put it in the yellow pay post.
Correct. And all that's indicated in the signage. I should be able to pull that up and so you guys can see what it looks like.
So could I ask you, clarify again, this is nothing new?
Correct. That's something that we've been doing for years. We're just trying to formalize it a little
And
bit.
the $10 fee is something you've been
The
doing?
fee was always there too?
It's always been there.
It's just now you have included better signage.
Better signage
and
so people
Better
know.
process to the whole thing,
Yeah,
and better communication than with Independence, is that right?
Correct.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
that $10 fee is super low.
It is,
Yeah.
it is, I wonder.
And it's for the most part on the honor system, because there's nobody there collecting.
Oh, yeah.
Then I'm wondering if there's ever,
Yeah, if anybody.
it's human nature.
I don't know
It's
if
gonna
Jack's got
happen.
a camera out there, but
Yeah.
Jack, that can tell us how much is collected from that?
From the pay post?
Yeah,
Do I have?
for the septic. There's gotta be
I
a,
pretty much put them in receipts, and we kind of take money out of our pay post and put it in, when it gets filled.
right, but you must have a line item for that or something, right, that you could tell us?
Yeah,
Okay, that'd
Yeah.
be great. I think that'd just be interesting for the future, you know?
And to know what do comparable costs, if, other places charge for
Right.
that
Yes.
would be
Yeah,
helpful to know.
and I could certainly help you with that,
Yeah.
Jack, but I can tell you that most people, if they would do it, if they would allow it, it's about $25.
okay.
Getting a deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
Half price.
And
And
that's,
again, it's if they would
we don't
allow it.
have a specific number, it just says pay at the yellow pay post. I'll try to see if I can pull it up here.
So while you're doing, oh, go ahead, Buzz.
Oh, other funds get put in that pay post is what you're saying.
Now we're trying to just designate it to dump station. It used
Yes,
to,
yeah,
used to
that'd be
be,
good.
you know, all our payments were in there, hard to kind of organize things and categorize things correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's specific to the dump
You have them
station.
fill out an envelope or anything with their name, address, and what it was.
There's
for?
information sometimes attached to the money, but all we kind of require is the $10 right now.
So this would be for campers who are, have campers and they want to dump. You
Right.
have campers who don't need to dump. So the people who need to dump, do they pay a fee at Four Seasons?
No, they pay.
They don't have a
right?
dump station there. so
Yeah.
No, I
it's
understand
kinda-
that.
Yeah.
But do they pay a fee for camping there? So what I'm wondering is
Oh,
if,
yeah,
if
why
if we
don't you
can
include it?
ensure that we get paid, they pay Independence and Independence pays us.
I think that's a great idea. Then it's included and it's done.
that's not
and
honor
there's-
system
And there's no
anymore.
honor
It's-
system because,
Not that I offend
Yes.
anybody's honor, but it's
And-
just a more effective way
Yeah.
to collect the fee.
and I
Yeah.
I can tell you, I defend every camper in the state of Wisconsin. However, there would be a huge number that would just not pay.
Well, it's human nature.
Yeah, It is.
Sad but true.
yeah, yeah. So could you look into that for us, Jack, and see if that would be an option for them to do?
What exactly would,
So they would up their rate to include the ability to be able to dump at Petrick Park. And whether they dump or not, that rate is in there.
it is something that has to get addressed to the state soon. So I don't know.
I'm
I
sure
can look
does,
into
'cause
it
they have to have a plan.
for the health department.
Because, right, exactly. They can't be open if they don't have a plan to dump.
Correct.
Would it be okay to move ahead with this and getting it approved? And then you'd have time to work on the whole changing of how that process works and that it would be included in the
Yep.
camp rate.
Right.
then-
And Jack, how many sites exactly?
First Four Seasons?
Uh-huh.
I'd say 20 to 20-ish, 20
Oh,
to 30.
okay. Okay, yeah, I think, I mean, if it's absolutely necessary for right now, we could go ahead and do it, but I really think it's important, Jack, because, you know, if you have a septic failure, that's a huge thing. So I think you want to make sure that, that you're absolutely 100% covered in that. That's not a little thing.
Yeah. We just don't have the amount, like our septic system.
Great.
during-
Could you just bring
besides
us the
Ashley
numbers,
is-
and that would be
yeah.
perfect, because, you know, every septic, the system has a plan.
That's kind of why we had that RFI done.
Yeah, we had that whole informational
with-
piece done.
High Cliff, and we have all that information. so.
Great. I
Yeah.
think that would be
So
good to
there's plenty of
have,
capacity.
along with the exact number of sites from Independence and a plan to charge them in that amount. Does that work?
Yeah.
And then we can go ahead and, I guess, do this for now. And then with the stipulation that Jack will make us a plan.
Sure.
Maybe we could add something like that in the letter too. I mean, it being
Yeah,
understood
yeah.
that planning will
Well, yeah,
follow
So they can.
to revisit
adjust.
an application by the campers
That's a great
to
idea.
include our fee.
Yep. Sounds great. Do we need a motion for that?
Is that actionable, that we need to, you want something?
Is there- is
Yeah,
there-
it would just be through the PTED committee, so yes, it'd be actionable to get approval from you guys.
I move that we support the plan that we have for the dump station, the use from the group at Four Seasons for the use at Petrick Park.
I will second.
But are we going to
yeah.
include,
That,
with the understanding that there will be future planning, that the City of Independence include our fee in their application fee?
If you want to add it all to it, you can suggest that as an amendment.
I would suggest that as an amendment.
I will second that one with the amendment.
okay, any discussion? All right, let's take a vote.
Lyon, yes.
Sorry, yes.
Adams, yes.
Whalen, yes.
Severson, yes. All righty. And then we are to,
That was on the amendment. Now you have a new
Oh,
motion that you'd
sorry.
have to vote with as amended. Is there any discussion on the motion that as amended that we have for the assembly?
exactly what he said.
Yep. And I have no discussion. I have no information.
Anybody else have a discussion?
No discussion.
All right, then we can vote on that, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Do we need a move to, do we need an approval of the amended motion?
No, we
Or the
already
amended
amended it, so
resolution?
now the actual motion that we're
That's right.
voting on is the motion
amendment,
as
okay.
amended.
As-
With yours,
as amended.
yes.
I vote yes.
And if you want it restated, we could restate it, but it's
I
not
don't need it.
required. Okay.
Got it.
Yes, Adams, yes.
Whalen, yes.
Sorry, yes.
Severson, yes. Alrighty then. The outdoor recreation update?
Brief on this. We are looking into the e-bike rental and cycling infrastructure that we talked about last meeting as a broader initiative and kind of exploring regional stuff. And then we'd probably aim to have one at Petrick Park and then couple in the bike loops like we had talked about. So I'm gonna have to do some more research on that.
If they put that bridge in, is there a way we can access Petrick Park other than Highway 93? For e-bike myself, riding on 93 is not ideal. If there's a way we could come in from the back of the park,
That'd be
if they're
nice,
putting a
yeah.
bridge or something in for the horses, that we could have access. with
Right,
the bikes.
there might be something with Cross Road, coming from Cross Road down the road here.
Okay.
It's, the river access kind of is the focus now with the water trail stuff, getting there, and then we can, I think that's a great idea.
Because I tried to get out on 93 and it's narrow.
Sure.
The road's narrow, there's
And
no
the-
bike
no-
lane.
yeah.
The traffic's excessive, and I said, "Oh, I'll never get to Peter Park this way."
Yeah.
It's just not a very calming experience to be on 93. Ashley semis flying by.
Flying by, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And we've done some homework, I'm sure, on the insurance piece of that. I know we, as a park, did it on the little scooter bikes, which is different than the e-bikes, but no, they wouldn't even touch us. So, I'm sure you've done that, but just throwing that out there as a,
Yep, and then snowmobile, last meeting is on Tuesday, kind of finalize stuff with grants, and then we have a yearly maintenance grant that we do with the clubs, and we'll be finalizing our spending for that.
awesome. Anything else, Jack?
Just the music series and working on the water trail, so that should do it for outdoor rec.
Jack, you mentioned a river cleanup. Is something scheduled and what sections or how that's that going?
So that's what I learned was like, it's nothing that's necessarily scheduled right now, but it's volunteers kind of take care of this on their own. So I asked, the volunteers if
Who are
we
they?
could, Stephen Gamroth and some of the people of the Whitehall Lions.
Okay.
There's like a group it's more individually based when it comes to river cleanup. There's specific guys that can kind of do what we want without necessarily, needing to promote it. Not saying that I don't think promotion's a bad idea, because that was my first, idea to these volunteers was, hey, let me try to get some more people there to help you. And they're like, this is something we kind of do, and we've got our specific group that helps do it. And basically, if you're trying to just clear a navigable pathway in a couple areas, it's just going to take a few guys that are dedicated in specific areas. So it's not something that I think needs to be a big volunteer project right now. But if we get some momentum behind this Trempealeau River Water Trail, I could foresee it, being something that we could.
Well, I guess what I was kind of leaning towards, and you kind of mentioned it, it'd be a way to get different segments taken over by different volunteer groups to kind of keep it open. I mean, that's going to be an ongoing issue, is provide
Right.
safe passage down the river with the trail.
Sure. And this just seems like what they're doing is, we're they're going along the river at a specific time every year, and you're trying to, locate groups and people that kind of handle their sections. So that's what, I've been talking to the Whitehall Lions, Associated Conservation Clubs of Trempealeau County. So there's guys between, Mr. Gramroth's got, a group of people my age that kind of help out one day in a couple different areas, a lot of people. So it's like you just have to keep, when it comes to this stuff I'm seeing, it's like you just got to keep stacking volunteers with conversations you have.
Well, I think that's Buzz's point, right? Buzz, it is important to grow that, right? You
Well, it's
know?
kind of a way to get some recognition for the water
Sure.
trail
Sure.
and get more
Yep.
people out there, or more groups.
Good social media stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
And
mean,
it's-
like,
yeah.
I'd be willing to come down,
Yeah.
put the canoe in and go with them, pick garbage up, but I've
Absolutely.
never heard of it.
Awesome.
Yeah, yep.
Start at Champions Riverside Resort, Buzz.
Black.
You just go back that way. Yeah, it's a Black River. What? It's there. We're still in Trumpealeau County. Hello.
Some of our best canoeing was when we went to clean the river from Petrick Park to Arcadia.
Well,
We
see,
had a
there you go.
blast, but it took a lot.
Oh,
lot
I
more
can't
capacity
imagine.
than I thought when we
Yes.
used to do it.
Right.
Lord, yep, there's a lot of work there for
You need a
sure.
barge to haul the stuff that you.
Oh, wow. Well, ask Connie Guzza. It sounds like she could get it donated. All right. So anything else there?
That should do it.
Formal recognition of Trempealeau trails, bike routes as official Trempealeau County trails.
Yep.
Discussion only.
I will do this one as my last PTED agenda item. Let me share my screen again. So this is something that came up in some recent conversations that Becky and I had with Linda Mossman and Travis Mossman from the Trempealeau Trails Association. And first off, I will tell you, I think you're all familiar that there's a sort of informal, semi-formal bike loop system in Trempealeau County. Some of the routes are signed, some are not. But there is a website out there that Trempealeau Trails Association maintains. And there's a bike brochure that's been out there for a while and is actually now being reprinted at our expense as a way of helping promote biking. Travis is going to be at a fairly substantial bike ride in Iowa this summer, and he's going to take these newly printed bike guides, which include this bike loop map that I'm displaying on the screen, as well as the fact that he's going to take a bunch of our tourism visitor guides with to distribute and hopefully bring some people here. But the issue that Travis brought up, and in fairness, he brought this up a year ago and it kind of got lost in the shuffle, and part of it was because didn't know exactly how to proceed. He wants to see if there's any way the county can recognize these bike loops as an official bike trail network. And again, this is what he's asking and proposing. His thought is that if so, then we would be able to include these like on Department of Tourism and maybe Department of Transportation resources in terms of where people, where there's bike routes designated. So I decided to bring it forward. We're not asking for any action today because I don't really know what action we could take. But I did share this as well with Susan Fisher, our county attorney, just with a question of, how would we proceed on something like this? Because some of the routes you can see are primarily on county roads, like that red loop there looks like it's almost exclusively, well, maybe not, because a portion of it, yeah, that red loop in the upper left looks like it's exclusively on county highway. But some of the other loops make use of combination of county roads and town roads. So for instance, Loop 12 up there, top center, County O and H, but it also on the north there is Prairie Road East that it uses. So my question to Susan is if the county was to recognize this trail network, could we do it ourselves just by, referencing these maps? Or would we also need the townships that have town roads that are affected to concur? Really, I mean, the roads are public use and biking certainly a use, so I don't know what the objection would be, but, I'm a little
Always good to
concerned.
inform them, right, yeah.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is I'm a little concerned too, that when you start asking these questions, and maybe it opens Pandora's box, and then it's like, well, we really shouldn't have bikes out there using these roads because they're not a certain width and there's no designated, you know what I'm saying, right?
Definitely, and for
Yep.
spring, when the sand's on the
Right,
roads.
yeah.
Yep.
The townships, it takes a while to get the extra sand from the winter off. I mean, they probably will feel obligated, if we do ask them, is what, if I
Right.
was sitting on a town board,
Right.
I'd be
Yeah.
very careful in what I designate as a loop.
So this is why it's on for discussion only. I thought I would let you know that, and Becky was the one that suggested, but it was something I was thinking anyways, is just how legally would we do this? And it's one of those things that, in the end, the question might be, and I know I've mentioned this to Travis, and he seemed a little frustrated with the bureaucracy of it all, and I can certainly understand that sentiment. But it's just what is the gain versus what additional problems it might create to formalize it. There's nothing stopping us from illustrating this, and using this in promotional materials of our own as well as theirs. And it is an outstanding resource for us to have in the county. Frankly, I think it could benefit from having some more signage along the way, and that's a project that I think going forward, the county could, help try to facilitate, not necessarily pay, but, see if there's some grants maybe to help sign these bike loops. So, just informational only. Any questions?
Well, yeah, when I first got on the committee, I thought there was like a $50,000 grant that was received to sign these.
He did say that.
Yeah.
They got started on it.
They got started
But
on
it
it.
was much more costly than what they anticipated.
Yeah, because and again, this is the bureaucracy of it, at least from Travis's telling, is that, signs had to be a certain size.
Right.
They had to get Digger's Hotline out for every single pole installation.
Okay.
And so you
gotta
can see, and I mean, that sounds very plausible. I mean, I believe that. And so it starts adding up.
They couldn't put them on stop signs and intersections or,
Well,
Some parts in the southern county have the signs, but we probably don't have as many as we want to because of probably of what the cost and the bureaucracy, there's probably not as many.
Yeah, you can't just plunk a sign up. Doesn't work like that.
so again, it's informational only, but I think it's definitely something that we should explore more moving forward. Because I think that it's a good partnership that there can be between the county, the townships, and the biking group. It's a great way, as we talked about last time. It's something that's accessible for everybody, with
have
the
you
e-bikes
checked
and
on
stuff.
any of those trails app you can download? Have any of these been added to those?
Probably not, and that may be part of the reason as well. And it may be just part of the reason too, that basically Trempealeau Trails
They're gonna
Yeah.
want this
Yes.
on their phone. and their
Basically,
bike.
Trempealeau Trails Association is one person, it's Travis. And he's talked about that. Yeah, they were looking to try to develop an app themselves that you could use with these trails on it, which I would think that there's probably other apps, and that would be the easier way, the path of least resistance is if you can get this. But then the question still comes by, do you have to have these formally recognized some way? I don't think that you would, really.
Well, I think I understand what he's, and I don't know if you would or you wouldn't, but I think his heart is in the right spot. When he's
Right.
talking about
Yes.
this, because Trumbull
100%.
County is, to a certain degree, nationally known for our bike trails, our beautiful county.
Right.
So I think his heart is in the right place, and if there is something that we can do to promote it nationally, yeah, we
We
should.
be doing it.
Yep. Yeah, so we're looking at his request about formally recognizing these trails. I'm sure as we go on, we'll get some answers, and then there'll be that'll dictate, what, do we go left or do we go right?
Any way to incorporate this into an update of our outdoor rec plan where we get our GIS people, or we try and get some, I mean, if we don't have them digitally, people aren't gonna use
That's
them.
Right.
That was gonna be my point, is like, I'd rather see that we would put our efforts into,
I did.
yep, like, is there one sign at the beginning, and then you have a QR code, and then it pulls it
Yep.
up? Or you have maybe you just have on the website, you have a map of each route that pulls up, and then, yeah, so that you can download it onto your phone before you get out there, because sometimes there's not services out there then, right? And so that almost seems like a better, than putting in physical signs. I think
Yes.
that's very costly.
Yes, and and Jack could probably do more research or even attest to this, but I've seen DNR grants in particular that are, smaller in amount, but for narrower focuses like this. And then there's all kinds of grants that are out there, AARP, different businesses promoting healthy lifestyle stuff that, we could get a grant like that. And I like the idea of having things maybe at the beginning of a route and tied to an app and stuff like that, so.
Well, and the sooner, I think, we can be actionable on that, right, would be, is there a way, how does the committee facilitate some action on some digital? I mean, if we leave it with Travis, and it's always the one-man show.
Yeah, that's
and-
hard, yeah.
And if it's an add-on to his life, where if we really want to make this part of the county, how do we incorporate him, that we're not stepping on his toes?
Right.
But at the same time, get this done, much like Jack's doing the water trail. I mean, it's got to be easy to trace that.
I wonder, what do you think
Digitally,
about
and-
this? Like, if we had a group, I'm not saying necessarily them, but the Pilch and Barnett, that we've already been working with, that has experience in some of this digital media more, that we would actually hire them out specific to put that together.
Well, in Phil's group, she does trail stuff. I mean, this has got to be easy peasy for anybody in the business.
Well, why don't we get a couple of options like that? I mean, I know there's things like At My Community and things like that where you
I got a
can.
trail thing that's nationwide. You can just
Yeah,
go there,
yeah.
bring it up. I want to hike here. Boom, the trail pops up. And as long as you download it to your phone, you got it.
Yep, let's do that. Let's put it on the agenda for next time. So we should all look at what options that we might have for that and bring them to the committee. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
That's
All
good.
right, wonderful.
I just wanted to give some background information for that too. From my talks with Travis and maybe it was Linda, it was like some Department of Transportation grant, I believe, where they got $50,000 and only 3 of the loops got out of the 17,
Sure.
18 we had, got the appropriate, information, then we ran out of money.
Well, I think we're spot on with looking at digital stuff, and you can really make things a lot more.
Exactly.
Back
yeah.
when we got that grant, we didn't even think about downloading trails.
Right.
I don't think they had an app for that.
I don't think it was
Things
an
are
option.
moving so quickly in that direction.
Like I'm
that-
saying, I think like that grant, unfortunately, it ran out of money. He's probably, I think they only got like some in like the southern or central part of the county was able, and then because of the bureaucracy and just, it doesn't take long to run out of money.
All right, so we'll go ahead and put that on the agenda for next time. And anything else there, Jack, for you? And then future agenda items that anybody would like to see.
I've got one on there, so I'm just gonna combine my park priorities with outdoor recreation. So it's gonna be
Okay, wonderful, that
park and
sounds
outdoor
great.
recreation priorities.
Yep, and I would love to see a distribution of Trempealeau County guides. I think Dave has done a great job on that, so I'd like to see where we're at on that and where we need help to distribute those if we can. And then I think that this will be addressed in looking for the At My Community, but maybe getting some business groups to help out with that, like a little Facebook group or something where we can start saying, hey, do you know about this area? Give this information to this person or whatever it might be, so that we can, have something that's a little bit more easily accepted, where you just look at Trumpealeau County and here's all the stuff, And I know some of that will be addressed in the new website, but I also think it's important to look at apps and the other options.
Lori, I will tell you, I've got a really thorough list of where the visitors guides were distributed in county.
Oh,
And I
wonderful.
will tell you that when I go into a business and I look where I dropped them off, and it's like, they're gone.
Yes,
And
they
I-
take
and I-
them, yeah,
So
so we gotta
I've
make
had,
sure
I've had a
they-
couple
yeah.
of boxes at any one time in the trunk of my car, and I just replenish as I go along.
That's great.
So they've been very popular. I've gotten so much good feedback on it. I want to thank the committee for pushing to get that
That's
done.
great. It was a good job.
Will this hard copy bike map be available by our June meeting for the committee to review?
Should be.
So
Should
that-
be. It's at the printer right now. I signed off on the proof. I would expect that we'd have those this week sometime.
Well, let's do that then. If we could get the distribution of the county guides, because we certainly don't want to drop Dave's good work and not continue to make sure that those are done. So if you could email that to us, and then for the June meeting, we'll take a look at the trails program. And everybody bring their ideas on any kind of apps or ways that we can kind of pull the whole community together and get working on some of these projects.
Yeah, and then how does that map get uploaded to the county website?
The same way we upload anything else. I mean,
Is it just?
it can. It's out there. I think it's out there, or more likely, I think what we do is we link out to the Trempealeau Trails website, and it's available there. Because that way, if he makes any updates, it's the latest versus us maintaining it.
Right, so we got a link right to it all the time.
Right.
Yep.
Don't we have like a tourism, what was that, am I thinking of Facebook?
No, that's a page.
Is that a page too? Could it be included in the tourism page as well? Because I think people are going to try to access our website as well as Facebook.
Yeah.
There are people who
Well,
are
so,
not.
so with
Right.
Facebook, you have some, I mean, sure, we could definitely do a post, and in fact, we're gonna be starting fairly soon with working with River Travel Media, but it's a post I could do too, just like, hey, did you know that
Right.
Trempealeau County's got all these,
Sure.
trails, here's a map, a link to it. That's a great idea.
So would the link be to Trempealeau County Trails
It would be the
as
tr-
well as the Trempealeau County Tourism page?
It would be to the Trempealeau Trails Association.
Could we include it in the Trempealeau County Tourism page as well?
We'll include on the Trempealeau County Tourism page, we can include a link to
Oh.
Trempealeau Trails.
Perfect.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
We're trying to direct to the source.
Yes.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yep.
That would be great. That would be great.
Trempealeau Trails, 501c3.
Not sure.
I mean, how official are they, in name only, or are they, if it's a one-man show?
Right.
I suspect that's what it is, Buzz, but I don't
It used to be a few more people, but
know exactly.
Well, we're going to discuss that next, at
Okay.
the next meeting, so let's go ahead and include that piece in it too, because that's a great point. We might be able to get some, grants and such from that. All right, and then our next meeting is June 3rd. And then I think I need a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good night and God bless.